Cars have come a long way from the 60s and 70s, and what used to be considered the powerhouses of the old days are now a fraction of the average car's horsepower. Back in the early days of American muscle, it was commonplace to have a car with an engine that was above 5 liters, but the car had under 200 horsepower. Nowadays, car manufacturers have been able to squeeze out every horsepower from every cubic inch in modern engines, much like Koenigsegg's 600 horsepower 2-liter 3-cylinder. However, there is still something primal about the old sound of American muscle, even if they are underpowered by today's standards. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video today: standards of horsepower. So strap in and prepare for us to break down one of the craziest problems in car culture: the Big Horsepower Epidemic. I'm Hudson, and this is the Hood Scoop. So what I mean when I say we have a big horsepower epidemic is how every time someone says, "Oh, I got 200 horsepower in my car," there's usually someone who's like, 200, I got 300. And then you have another guy who's like, whoa, 300 horsepower, I got 500 horsepower. And the cycle keeps continuing, and we get these insanely inflated numbers of high horsepower that seem normalized to the point that if you aren't making 400 to 500 horsepower, you're common traffic. Just a quick disclaimer: there is nothing wrong with chasing big horsepower, and I would prefer to have more horsepower than I do currently. Back in the early 2000s, it did not seem to matter how much horsepower you actually made, as long as you loved the car you were driving. So let's take a look at 3 reasons I believe horsepower is inflated and overvalued nowadays. Now, usually the term inflation is reserved for the economy. However, it can also be related to horsepower. The average horsepower for vehicles is now almost 100 horsepower more than it was in the 80s. This is directly tied to the amount of technological advancements in the last 40 years. Not only have engines become more reliable up past 100,000 miles, they also have a lot more horsepower readily available. Another factor to consider is that cars weigh in at an average of 4,300 pounds now, which is on average 1,000 more than they did in the 80s. The first reason is electronics and safety. Modern cars carry a lot more safety measures, which exponentially ups the curb weight. The second reason is cars are a lot bigger nowadays due to the rise of creature comforts in vehicles. Comparing old models to newer models, you can see the insane difference, and usually older cars were tiny compared to modern vehicles on the road. So with all that extra weight, we need the power to back it up to go the same speed. Take a look at this comparison of a 2004 Mazda 3 weighing 2,700 pounds and making 148 horsepower, and a 2019 Mazda 3 weighing 3,200 pounds with 187 horsepower. Both of these cars go 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds. So even though the newer car has more horsepower, it actually doesn't go any faster because they have the same power to weight ratio. There could be many reasons for this, including gearing, tires, or torque, but this just goes to show the number on the brochure isn't the only factor that matters with cars. The power to weight ratio is one of the most important parts of a car's acceleration and overall feel. A simple way of finding out your ratio is dividing the weight of your car by the horsepower it makes. Driving a tin can at 100 miles per hour is going to feel a lot faster than driving a modern, cushy truck at 100 miles per hour due to the size of the vehicles you're moving. And that also brings us to our next point. Handling matters just as much as horsepower. If you have a car that has 500 horsepower but can't turn without an insane amount of body roll, then it's going to be a nightmare to drive fast. It is important to make sure when setting up your car that you take care of all the aspects of a good ride and not just make the most horsepower, because bigger number equal gooder. A good handling car on a windy road can best a lot of high horsepower models, and there are plenty of videos online to prove it. I mean, that's literally one of the main takeaways from the show Initial D. So now that we've established weight and handling matter just as much as horsepower, I just have one question left to answer. How did we get to the point where everyone wants super high horsepower? Well, there is no definitive answer, because one could argue I made this entire problem up. But I believe the reason everyone is chasing those big numbers is because all cars nowadays have more horsepower, like I previously mentioned, but also because of how social media has changed the norms and the landscape of car culture. A lot of car culture now is all about the stats and the numbers and less about the feeling and driving of the cars. People in the comment sections don't care if the driver loves their car more than anything, they just want to know how much horsepower it has. And more often than not, they're never satisfied with the answer. Most people don't even know how to handle cars with big horsepower, and that's why we have so many videos of Mustang wrecks on the internet. Sorry, Mustang drivers. This problem of people trying to invalidate other people's cars is amplified online when everyone has the freedom to insult from a distance and not in person at a car meet. That's why I believe the pursuit of bigger horsepower is so prevalent right now, instead of people enjoying what they have in their car. I drive a Mazda 3, making 187 horsepower on a good day, and I love every minute of it. It doesn't always have to be about how fast or how powerful your car can go. Sometimes it's best just to feel the car you're driving and enjoy the journey. I've been your host, Hudson Cannon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. Follow our Instagram at 40RollOfficial and follow me on Instagram at @TheHudsonCannon. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next episode of The Hood Scoop. The Big Horsepower Epidemic. I made it up. It's fake. Fake news. Very nice.